Hello everybody and welcome to You Decide, the show. We talk about the biggest topics in football, but ultimately you guys decide. You can do that via the poll cards, and you can also let us know your reasons why down below throughout the show. Let's get straight into it. We've got 3 topics. Got Flav here, he's smiling away because he's happy, which is rare, and that's great. The 3 topics are going to be: who is the best player never to win the Ballon d'Or? Who is worse, Bravo or Karius? And should John Terry be given another year's contract extension?
Yep.
We're going to kick off with who is the best player never to win the Ballon d'Or. Flav, you're going to go first. You're going to have 40 seconds on the clock. You're going to start talking into that camera.
Can I shock you? it's Thiery Henry. He has to be. I'm a Spurs fan, and I can still say that because this is a man who scored 175 goals for Arsenal, and in 2003 was at the peak of his powers. In 2002, 2003, he scored 32 goals and 23 assists. That's incredible. And 39 goals and 11 assists in the following season. This was a time when Arsenal demolished Inter Milan 5-1 in the San Siro, having lost the first game 3-0 at Highbury. This is, I hate him, I hate his guts, and I feel sick saying this, but it can't be denied the fact that Thierry Henry at that time was the best player in the world.
No, wrong. The best player ever to not win the Ballon d'Or is Steven Gerrard. This is the greatest player Liverpool have ever had, maybe apart from Kenny Dalglish. And generally, he could do everything. This is a player who could have played right back, centre back, up front, in goal, everything. He did absolutely everything, complete box-to-box midfielder. And in 2005, he was incredible. That was a Liverpool team that had Jimmy Traore in it, and he still dragged them to the Champions League final. They needed 3 goals to go through the Champions League into the Champions League knockouts against Olympiacos. He did it on his own with that absolute ridiculous pile driver. Loads of man of match performances. 23 goals in 2005-2006. Liverpool's highest scorer that year. 11 assists. PFA Player of the Year that year as well. And Ronaldinho won it.
Yeah, that's
that year. That's madness.
That's madness. I mean, if you compare both players, I mean, Steven Gerrard has done. He is an outstanding footballer, but never won the league.
Why does was that caveat? What's that got to do with this? Champions League. You won the Champions League that year.
There was that. I think that you're saying that because is this the season when the Istanbul game?
Yeah, completely dragged them.
If that hadn't happened, you wouldn't be talking about Steven Gerrard for never have won it that year. But I get what you're saying in terms of individual. The story, it's not just about being the best player necessarily, but it's about the story there. That's in the same way that why Jamie Vardy finished 8th.
You definitely have a point there. If he hadn't scored 23 goals from midfield, and not even sort of right wing sort of forward, he was central midfield, box to box, making tackles, creating goals, 11 assists, as I said. PFA Player of the Year that year. You had Ronaldinho who won it, who I know he was probably at the peak of his powers at that point and was a great player. But the fact that I think there's a big thing with Ballon d'Or that if you play for Barcelona or Real Madrid, that's going to help you a bit. I mean, no, Real Madrid, Ronaldo and Messi are in a league of their own, but I feel like he missed out here. Lampard was second. That is outrageous. We've done that debate before, and I won it, Craig. So he should have been at least second, if not having won it. An absolute complete player, and had a Roy the Rovers season that year. You put that all together, you should be winning that.
Yeah, mate, you might have a point. I'm happy to concede here. All right.
Just wait a second. What have we said about fighting spirit?
All right, fine.
Gotta stick with it. You're happy for the Arsenal guy to lose.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, look, again, like putting rivalry aside, Henry is probably the best striker the Premier League has ever seen. He was certainly the best striker in Europe at that time. Nedved beat him in that year, wasn't it? So, I mean, and that's incredible in itself, the fact that a kind of attacking midfielder in Nedved beat a striker, because strikers win this award. So there's something in that, but it's ridiculous that a player of Henry's quality never won the Ballon d'Or.
All right then, Steven Gerrard or Thierry Henry, which out of those two is the best player to never have won the Ballon d'Or? Or is there anyone else? Let us know in the comments below. Next up, 2 goalkeepers have been taking a bit of flack, a bit of heat in the Premier League recently, Karius and Bravo, but which one would you rather have in your team? I'm going first this time, and I'm going with Mr. Karius. The reason I'm going for him is that, and there's not many stats that are going to back up the fact that he's better than Bravo, and he hasn't got the experience, but I'm backing on potential with Karius. He's a man who was chosen by Tuchel at Mainz, and he is a manager that a lot of people have a lot of respect for, Klopp as well. has rated him enough to bring him to the Premier League and play him for Liverpool. I think the problem with Karius at the moment is that he's a young guy, and there's a lot of parallels between him and David De Gea. Yes, 1.4 saves per goal is pretty awful, but we all remember that David De Gea was an absolute joke when he first turned up because he didn't have the experience, he wasn't used to the pressure. I think you should stick with Karius. I think he's a decent goalkeeper. Damn, I had more.
I think Bravo is. I would rather have Bravo in the team because ultimately football now, certainly for the way I would like my football to be played, is on the ground, and Bravo, despite his clangers this season, is good with his feet. Riley's at Real Sociedad. He scored a free kick. He has more saves than Karius this season. 1.8 saves per goal. 22 saves this season as opposed to Karius's 14. We know Bravo is good. We know he's rated. Pep rates him. And I think that, as I say, with the way the game's going at the moment, where it's important to pass and be comfortable at your feet, there's few better than Bravo in European football.
Very good. This is a difficult one for me to try and win because I'm banking on something that we don't know exists or not. Last year he was good. 81 successful claims, 99% of the times that he came and won the ball, which I think is a big factor in a goalkeeper. Of course, shot stopping is where he's let himself down this season, but that shows confidence. And if you're getting 99% of those, then that means you must have a bit of quality as well. 6'2", so he's a commanding guy as well.
Both of these players are coming for a lot of stick recently, which is why we're talking about them. And you have to give them, I think, a little bit of leeway. And the easiest thing is to coat off a goalkeeper. And Karius has obviously been the most high-profile, made the most high-profile mistakes. But both of these guys have been brought in because they can play a bit of football. And out of the two, Bravo has consistently proved that he can do it.
I think the thing with Bravo is that throughout his career, he's been someone who's been a 7 out of 10. Hasn't made too many incredible saves, but as you say, brilliant with his feet. And one argument that I would try and throw in there is that he is 10 years younger, Karius. So if you might want Bravo in your team this second, but 3 years from now you might want Karius. But 31's not old.
31's not old. Now Bravo will be playing another 10 years, definitely. I think Karius, will be around when I'm on my last legs. He's that young. Yeah. That's the way I'm going. Out of the two who you'd want in your team now, the obvious choice is Bravo. Vote now who you'd want in your team, Bravo or Karius. Give us your reasons in the comments below. And now we're switching our attentions to John Terry. Should he be given a 1-year extension? He's been told that he will not be offered a new contract at Chelsea. But what would you do? Would you give him a new contract? Hit it.
Yes, they should give John Terry another year's extension. I know he's 36, he's going to be 37 soon. That's how life works. But he is a player that is indoctrinated into Chelsea. He's been there his entire career. He is a leader on and off the pitch. And I think he's starting to understand his role at Chelsea. He's a player who didn't have much pace throughout his career, so that shouldn't make too much difference. I think he's also got a system there with Conte, if they play free at the back, where it will suit him and cover him as he loses it more and more pace. He's a player that is great around the club. I think you've seen it in Giggs, Maldini, those kind of players at those different clubs where they've stuck around and it has made a massive impact. I think he deserves to go when he wants to go, and if he's not ready to, then they should offer him a contract.
There's no room for sentiment in a football club. Sentiment is for the fans, romanticism's for the fans, for cold, hard decisions, that's for a football club. And a manager, and John Terry is as much of a kind of stalwart and a champion for Chelsea that he's been, almost the perfect kind of person to sum up Chelsea, some might say. It's time for him to go. He's on a huge contract. It would be another massive financial commitment from Chelsea to keep him on for another year. He's blocking the route into the first team for players like Andreas Christensen, who was Player of the Year at Mönchengladbach last year. It's time for John Terry to hang up his boots.
It's difficult to know when it's coming, isn't
it?
Yeah,
you try and round it off, but I mean, he's going to be offered, apparently going to be offered a big contract at Chelsea. Maybe his brain isn't going to be in it. His mind's not going to be in it, sorry.
He's going to be offered some kind of role then. They're saying there'll be some, what is this ambassador?
So this is what Ledley King does at Tottenham. Right. He kind of goes and opens like schools and cuts ribbons.
That's a come down, isn't it?
And talks.
Go play golf.
He's kind of like spokesman to some degree for Tottenham.
Right.
But not given, you don't give John Terry carte blanche to say whatever you want about Chelsea. You don't do that. So it's really a tokenistic thing. He was a good servant to the club. But there's still playing days in him. It's just not at Chelsea. in my opinion.
You don't think he's going to hit those heights anymore?
I think that it's easy to replace him. You've got to think towards the future. You can't, there's no value in playing John Terry now. You'll get 10 games out of him this season. He might be good off the bench if you want to shore up the defence. You could give him that, but £250 away is £250 a week is an expensive way to do that.
I think that's a good point. I think if he does stick around, I couldn't care less how much Chelsea pay people, but they'll probably be able to offer him lesser wages. But I think he is worth sticking around because he understands that he's not the first choice anymore, and that's in a system where they're playing 3 centre backs supposedly. So if Christensen comes back, and he should be getting involved in that squad now after the 2 years he's had at Mönchengladbach, then he knows. And like Giggs didn't play many. I think that the year that he won Sports Personnel of the Year, Giggs played like 12 games or something ridiculous like that. But people still love that story.
What's that got to do with it?
My point is that John Terry doesn't have to play many games there. He can still be a decent influence for them. I think you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And he's a guy who is a leader there. I think it'd be a shame for... And Chelsea fans love him. It'd be a shame if they let him go.
I think it's just a regressive step. Conte's come in and transformed Chelsea completely. 9 wins on the bounce. Absolutely no issues there. If Conte is not ruled by sentiment. He comes across as the least sentimental manager of all time. He's done the same thing at Juve. He's ruthless.
He's quite sentimental about his hair, Flav.
He's got lovely blue eyes as well. Looks like a complete psychopath. This is irrelevant. But it's time for Terry to go. He's got to go at some point. And Chelsea are playing so well that this is the right time. The fans are on board. They believe completely in Chelsea. They're sold on Conte, and so they should be. Top of the league, clear by 4 points or whatever it is. It's time. It's time for him to go. This is a great time to get rid of him. Off you go, John Terry.
So Chelsea fans and all football fans, do you think John Terry's time in a playing capacity is up for Chelsea? Vote right now and let us know your reasons in the comments below. Make sure you vote on all the topics this week and vote for who's done better this week, myself or Flav. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure you give it a like. Most importantly, subscribe to Ball Street. You can do that by clicking right here. Do it.